Hello, this is Molly, and this video is an introduction to Franklin Method, which is one of the disciplines that I teach and use in my practices, and to just talk about how Franklin Method can work alongside other disciplines like yoga and Feldenkrais. Yoga is also something I teach. Feldenkrais I am involved in and learn loads from. So I wanted to talk about how those two fit together, and we'll finish today with a short Franklin Method exercise for the shoulders, and you'll see then how it all comes together. So Franklin Method is a methodology created by Eric Franklin, and the idea is that it's a system of imagery to improve movement, right? So in Franklin Method, we use lots of different kinds of imagery. We use metaphors, we use motivational language, but we also use quite a lot of anatomical imagery. So what most people know Franklin Method for is for a way of understanding your body movement, through your anatomy, through learning about and then embodying the design of your body. So that can sound a little bit esoteric. But when you do another discipline, Pilates, yoga, or Feldenkrais, there's a lot of talk about different parts of your body. You might, be initiating with your, from pushing into the floor, or you might be trying to find your hip joint. And what Franklin Method has given me is the kind of inside experience of all those different parts of my body, right? So where like a doctor might have a lot of information about the body, from the perspective of a client or a patient, right? What Franklin Method has given me is a sense of my body from the inside. So that creates this kind of joining up of the sensorial experience and the kind of rational, informational experience, right? So you might have some kind of sensing in your body. It could be a physical sensation, it could be a kind of overall sensation. And with Franklin Method, we get a sense of what that might indicate anatomically. So how does it work with yoga or with Feldenkrais? Franklin Method does not necessarily have its own movement system. So yoga, Feldenkrais, Pilates are movement systems. And it doesn't seek to change the movement system at all. In fact, a lot of what is taught in Feldenkrais is very much in alignment with Franklin Method. So it's not trying to change the movement system, but it's just trying to give you a new sense of your anatomy when you are moving. And so sometimes I have the experience, like, somebody might say, okay, move your spine. And when we often think of the spine, you kind of like, you put your hand on your back and you feel those little bumpy bits and there's my spine. But the spine has a lot of volume, right? A lot of depth. So when somebody says the spine, you could also imagine the front of the spine, right? And from Franklin Method, I now have a sense of where the front of my spine is and how to imagine moving from the front of the spine. So since I've brought that up, I will show it to you. So here is a model of the spine. And, this is the back, and the back has those little bumpy, ridgy bits that you can touch. So you can just try touching the back of your spine. But when you look at the spine from the side, right, you can see that there's these bones in the back. Then this yellow is the nerves coming out of the spinal cord. And then you have this big chunk of bone and disc that's here in the front. And so if you kind of measured that with your hand, the depth of the spine is probably even longer here in the lumbar, in the lower back, longer than my finger, right? So if I think about how deep the spine goes into my body, I'm thinking of something longer than my finger. Yeah. So let's just experience that for a minute. Come to sit and put your hands on your front and back of your body. And maybe just do a little spinal movement that you might be used to, a little wiggle, nothing special there. I'm just going to adjust myself. Yeah, and then move your hands kind of out to the side and put a finger out from the hand that's near your back. And just notice how close that is to the front of your body. So mine is like, this far away from the front of my body. Right, so if I keep my hand on the back of the body, I can imagine extending my finger into the body. And imagine that's where the front of my spine is. So with that little piece of information, let's do a little extension. That means lifting your chest, arching the back, and then a little flexion, a little folding of the body forward. And just play with that. And now do you have a different sense of the front of your spine in your movement? So I said we use different kinds of imagery. So that's anatomical imagery. Right? Another kind of imagery we might use is a metaphor. So as you're moving your spine, this one will be not quite a metaphor. A metaphor is not coming really quickly to my mind. Yeah, so how about let's find the quality we want to move with. Let's move fluid. Move the spine, very fluid, very smooth, very supple. So I'm getting a metaphor now that my spine is a bit like it's going to have to be a little bit of an abstract metaphor, but it's a bit of a flag, right? And so it's being kind of waved or shaked out like a sheet. Like if you took a sheet out to the washing line and you shook the dust out. So I'm kind of rippling through the spine, and both the front and the back of my spine have movement. So let's come back to sitting. That was a very spontaneous kind of Franklin method experience. Yeah, this is one that's a little bit more classical. Yeah, so we'll move the collarbones. So here I have a collarbone. And one thing you might notice about this collarbone is that it's like almost an S shape. Yeah, so it's it's curved. Yeah, it's curved. And it's more rounded on one side and flat on the other. So this collarbone is a left collarbone, and it fits like that on my body. Yeah. And so when your shoulder goes up, I don't know if you can see from the shape moving on my black shirt, but you can see that the outer edge goes up. And then when the shoulder goes down, the outer edge goes down. So you can put your hand, so let's do the left side. Put your right hand on your left collarbone and just lift and lower your shoulder. And imagine the outside edge going up and then down and up and down. So let's think of some of our movement qualities: smoothly floating up and melting down. Yeah. Okay, good. So now if we think about the movement of the joints between the collarbone and the sternum is the breastbone. Yeah. So when we lift the shoulder, that joint is actually kind of moving down, right? And when we take the shoulder down, that joint is kind of moving up. So you could imagine it a little bit like a seesaw. There's a metaphor for you, a little seesaw. So when you bring the shoulder down, right, the center of your body rises up. And a metaphor I really like for that one is a corkscrew. So, you wind the cork into the wine bottle, and then when you pull the outside down, the inside comes up. So just notice now, take a moment and pause and notice if anything feels different on that side of your body. So mine feels not drastically, but a little bit more relaxed. Yeah, let's do the same thing now with the arms sweeping up. So when you sweep your arm up, if you touch your collarbone and you sweep the arm up, you might feel that it kind of rolls up. It rolls up. I'm almost showing the bottom of my collarbone to the camera, right? A little showing the underbelly. It's rolling up and rolling down. So just let that be really easy and fluid, rolling up and rolling down. And notice how high the arm goes, comfortably rolling and down. And last time, rolling up and rolling down. And again, take a pause and notice what's changed. So now this side feels even more kind of relaxed and soft. Yeah, and I'm going to test my arm flexibility. So I'm going to test this arm going up and test the other one. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that, but my arms are really different in terms of how high they're going. So that just a few times of rolling has really opened up that movement pathway, opened up that possibility for shoulder flexion. So let's do the other side, so right side. So just touch your collarbone first. Use your left hand and feel the curve of it. All right, feel the volume. And then let's just do this lift and lower of the shoulder and imagine that outer edge of your collarbone going up and sliding down. I'm going to give you a little bit more imagery on this side. So your shoulder blade is also in the back. You could just touch around just towards the shoulder blade. And imagine the shoulder blade is very slippery. It's sliding on the back. So you're kind of lifting the collarbone, the shoulder blade, and then they both melt and slide down. Yeah, so now let's think also about the inside edge of the collarbone. Right, so as the outside goes down, the inside goes a little bit up. Inside goes down, outside goes up. Outside goes down, inside goes up. Yeah, a little seesaw. And notice if the movement is changing at all in quality. Let's take a pause, notice what's changed. So I can definitely feel the shift now on this right side. It feels a little bit more drop, but let's do the arm going up. So again, touching the collarbone, and we're going to let the collarbone roll. Roll back, show the bottom of the collarbone, and then bring it down, hide the bottom of the collarbone. So rolling up and rolling down and rolling up and rolling down. Last time. And down. Take a moment and notice. So now my right side feels very relaxed. My arms have evened up a bit more. So let's just add a tiny bit more. So hand on your right collarbone still. And now circle the shoulder. Yeah, and as you circle, imagine this collarbone sliding on the surfaces beneath. And I'll tell you what that surface is. That's your ribs. It's the top of your ribs. So the collarbone is sliding on the ribs. Just do a few movements like you're washing a window or cleaning a table. Signing your name. Very big signature. Yeah, and then release that arm down. Let's do the second side with that one. So just circling around. Washing a window. Cleaning a table, signing your name. This is my wrong hand for signing. Yeah. And let's add both together. So lift both shoulders up. They don't have to go super high. Yeah, and feel the joint on the inside dropping down, the sternum, the breastbone dropping down, and then lower your shoulders, melt the shoulders down. Imagine your sternum floating up. One more time. Shoulders slide up. Shoulders slide down, sternum floats up. And let's just pause there, take a breath. So I hope that's given you a little insight into what I am teaching and how I teach and how you might benefit from, including some of this anatomical information. Right? It's not like, oh, you need to know all the details. It's that, when you can feel your bones, when you can feel the parts of your body with more clarity, you actually get a better movement result. So thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon.